I'm Aditi Surana. I'm a graphologist and a high performance coach, and today we're going to discuss new aspects of our journaling workshop. Now, what do I mean by journaling workshop? We're going to speak about how one can write, which means how you can use handwriting to literally figure out different aspects of your personality. Just give me a minute. Yeah, there we go. Hi everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining in today. Today is day 14 of our journaling workshop. What we're going to speak about in today's conversation is one of my favorite topics. What we're going to address through handwriting and through journaling and through everything that we're going to speak about. So before I get in there, let's speak about a few questions that I received. When I spoke about imperfection and when I asked people that let's look at your imperfection in different areas, I received some questions which sounded like this. Aditi, if I start removing all imperfections out of my system, then I would pretty much wouldn't have anything to count on, because there are so many layers and layers and layers of opinions that we carry about ourselves. I agree. I completely agree. And the idea is not to throw everything that you believe in out of the window. The idea is not to question and doubt everything that you think you would like to connect with. But the idea is simpler. If you are looking at yourself, and if there is a pattern, if there is a belief, if there is any fear that is driving you, and it is so compulsive that you cannot look at things for what they are, if you cannot look at things and change them, then it is a time for us to look at it. If you use something, for example, if you're cooking, I can use cooking example with more liberty right now. All of you know how it feels like to cook, isn't it? At least people are stepping into their kitchen more, for sure. So if you have certain ingredients and you want to cook with them and you want to get your recipe perfect, and that's amazing. But then there are days where you run out of something. And if you feel that I'm so dependent on that one ingredient that I cannot function, I'm so dependent that my cooking, my ability to bake something, make something is taken away from me because I'm missing that one ingredient, which is most of the time something that you can live without, something that you can question, something that you can drop, then not moving forward is a problem. But being able to look at it and see, can I make some changes? Can I still move forward? What is available to me right now, and how can I get to my state of calm, my state of balance as soon as possible, with most efficient ways of using different tools, different methods, then those imperfections are okay. But if you're stuck, if you're compulsive, if you're limited by your imperfections, then there is a problem. So it is not always about getting something right, getting something wrong. It is about how you feel and how fixated or how compulsive you are about that activity, that habit, that belief system. If you are compulsive, that means if you cannot function without it, if you feel you need to protect yourself, if you need to constantly define yourself with that idea, then there is a problem. Okay, I know I have been very intense with all the choices that we are making, and I've also been speaking about certain aspects again and again and going deeper and trying to change things. All of that I'm doing. So today's question is slightly lighter. Now if you're joining us today, if it's your day 1, then guys, it is a workshop where I'm going to teach you how to journal, which means you're going to use handwriting to write certain responses to the questions I ask every day, different questions on every different workshop date. Second, I'm going to ask you to do graphotherapy, which is a stroke called flow of thoughts. Now, flow of thoughts is a stroke which allows your mind to calm down. Most of the time, we are so busy moving from one thought to another. Flow of thoughts is one place which allows so many strokes to be connected and thereby so many thoughts to be connected, and thereby allowing yourself to literally calm down the pace of your jittery mind. Okay, how does it work? Try it out. As soon as you will try out, if you do one page of that one small stroke, you will see how beautifully you will breathe differently, you will think differently, and I feel mesmerized every time I try this stroke, every time I try out and give it a shot, I genuinely fall in love with it. So here we are talking about today's question, today's concept. The concept may sound very simple and some of you might take it lightly because it sounds so simple, but I must tell you that most of us completely forget about this. The question for today is, what are you grateful for right now? Simple, isn't it? Oh, grateful. Oh, gratitude journal. Oh, saying thank you. Oh, counting my blessings. I have done it. I have done it so many times. I used to do it back in the day and it worked and it was nice till it lasted. Guys, get back to it. It is very important. I had similar thoughts. There was a point I used to use gratitude journaling back in the day, I think 10-12 years ago, and I enjoyed it till it lasted, and then I lost the habit of it. I generally felt grateful for things, but I didn't journal. I didn't ask that question regularly to myself. I didn't journal, full stop. So I remember going through a very difficult phase emotionally 2.5 years ago. And my sister gifted me a journal and she said, I know you're a coach and all that, like whatever, but I want you to try this and give it a shot. When she handed me that journal, I was feeling very low and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm gonna give it a shot. Now, if I'm aware of the triggers, does that mean the triggers do not work on me? Not at all. If you understand medicine and if you still get exposed to the virus, you will fall sick. Understanding your medicine and practicing it every day has nothing in common. So if you don't practice, if I don't practice, if all of us just try to find these shortcuts by cognitively understanding the concepts, then they would not work, guys. So let's not do this. If we have a tool, then understanding it is part 1, but it's only 10% of the story. As you move forward, as you implement it, you develop your language with it, your connect with it. That is the way of taking it forward to the next level. Now, I'm going to come back and explain and complete that story that I started with, but here is a point. Now, there are 3 things with which I feel brains and minds work really amazing. I've tried it with so many people and every time I try it, it works wonders. So, what are those aspects? First point is you have to find your sadhana or your practice, your way of keeping your mind and your body at the utmost optimum level. Now, whatever is optimum for you might not be something that is optimum for the other person, but find your tools. We don't want to find the perfect tools, but we want to experiment with newer tools to make sure that you build your sadhana. Now, the word sadhana is very beautiful. Now, sadhana means practice, but sadhana comes from a Sanskrit word called sadhan. And sadhan means instrument. Now, sadhana is instrumental for you to find that connect, for you to transit, transform, for you to move from here, this land, to another land. And once you have made that shift, if you have used a tool and it has worked very well for you, and if you move to the next level, then it's a time for you to look at that sadhana or that sadhan again and make changes. So some of you might be meditating already. Some of you might be using different tools to find your calmness already. Now, when we experiment with journaling, when we experiment with newer tools, now either you want to make changes to your existing sadhana or you want to add on to it, right? But we all must have some pursuit, some ways of connecting with ourselves. And if we don't have any of it, also physically and mentally, and if we don't have any one of it, then it is a time to pick it up, because I haven't seen anybody being happier in a long run if they don't have mental and physical routine or sadhana of their own. Okay, so that's point number 1. Point number 2 is anything that is toxic, anything that is weighing you down, anything that is compulsive, anything that has a hold on me, anything that doesn't allow me to be freer, to change, to alter, to move, to go faster, to perform at a higher level, and whatever that means to you, it is my job, it's my duty to look at it for what it is with all honesty and reduce its engagement or its hold over me. Now, whatever that may mean. Now, if that means that I have a relationship that bothers me so much that I'm not able to be in my own balance, I might not be able to move out of that relationship. If that is your case, that's okay. But you can always reduce the impact of that relationship on your well-being by not letting things be as triggering for you as they are right now. Right? That's one part of it. Or if you think I can move out, I can make different choices, I can take up a different job, I can choose to deal with things differently, whatever that is for you. We're going to make choices based on whatever you think is reducing the impact of these weighing down emotion. Okay? The third part. Now, your mind is such that it would never stay in one place. If you try to keep your mind steady, very few people, I think people who have really worked on things, they can really keep their mind in one place and it remains there. Most of us, we struggle to keep our minds in one place. What does that mean? Have you ever tried swimming? Even if you haven't, you will understand what I'm saying. But if you have tried swimming, if you know, you can't float for a very long time. If you try to, you have to breathe at some point, but to float, if you hold your breath, that's the only time you can float on the surface of the water. The very moment you want to take a breath, and if you move up, your body starts sinking. Now, to stop your body from sinking, the only way is to move forward. Or if you're doing a backstroke, then moving backwards. But you cannot stay afloat after a point. That is the state of our mind. Most of the time, our minds work like that. They want some activity. Your brain would look for something that is stimulating, something that works for it, something that can really trigger certain emotions or some journeys. If you don't guide the journey forward, it will make a journey backward. If you don't remain stimulated in activities and areas that you love, it will choose something that is really complicated and keep you engaged, stuck, whatever. You know the experience. I did not explain it much. Now that is the point. Now, if you want to remain calm, and that also means you feel really rooted and grounded in the choices that you're making, then those choices can be the choices that you make. So I always recommend people to pick up 1 or 2 activities where you are curious, where you are growing, where you are contributing and researching and finding information, and you are building this, if you're lucky, lifelong secret learning project. I must say this, every time I look at a handwriting sample, and it has been 16 years, but every time I look at and even talk about it, I start blushing. I don't know what is about this relationship that I have. Like, it's definitely very flirtatious because I start blushing, and it shows on my face. I just have to look at a new handwriting sample and I just feel so happy, and it's always like a dance, right? It's just flirtatious. I don't have conclusions about what I'm going to tell you. In this period, if you have gone through handwriting sessions with me, or otherwise if you already know me from the past, then you know that I'm not prepared to say exact things. I jump in and I just go with the flow, but it's always flirtatious, it's always a dance, and the observation, the articulation goes on, and I could have said this, I could have chosen this word when I saw this stroke, and if this meant this in this person's story, I could have narrated it like this. Now this is my research lab, and it goes on and on and on. If you are lucky, then you would also have something that you are so involved in that you think about life from the tenet, or that flavor of that one subject. I know chefs, wherever they go, they are constantly looking for a combination of flavors. I know artists who are looking for forms. I know photographers who are constantly looking for different frames wherever they go. They see a light ray falling on somebody's face, they're like, oh my god, what a frame, let me capture it. They might not be able to capture it in the moment, but they will look at it, and they mentally make a note of it, right? So imagine having that learning project, that secret project that goes on and on and on. So we are talking about three things. One, staying aligned, staying more on the route that you wish to take and doing sadhana. It's not only knowing and thinking that one day I will get to it, one day I know this, one day I'll go to the gym, one day I will work out, one day I will do it. No guys, not one day, today. If today is the day, if you want to stay connected and if you want to make those choices, then you will have to do your sadhana, you will have to follow your routine. Part number one. Part two of the same thing is removing things that bother you, removing things that weigh you down, removing things, and by that I don't mean be uncomfortable with every negativity around there. No, it's not pushing things away, it's not resisting things, but it's about removing the hold the so-called negative has on you, the so-called compulsion has on you, the so-called demanding ways of going about things have on you. So demanding ways are my fixated ideas, and I can't function without them, then I'm paralyzed without them, and I need to control every situation, and if I can't do it, I feel anxious. If that is a pattern that most people follow, then we have to look at it. And how do we do that? Is one, you focus on your sadhana. Second, you do everything through journaling, through all the other methods that we have spoken or you have learned in the past, whatever works for you. And the third thing is keeping your learning curve on. Whatever is your learning curve, keeping that learning curve on. If you don't allow your mind to move forward, it will move backward. That is the nature of your mind. So you might as well take the whole idea, the whole process in your hands and design it, because it's going to work any which way, right? So coming back to the story with my sister's gift. So she gifted me this journal and she said, I tried gratitude journaling last 1 month, and why don't you try it till you feel good? I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I decided to sit with that journal and write. Every morning I woke up, and it was very difficult, because when you feel low and when you feel exhausted and when you feel emotionally drained, it is very difficult to look at things that are good. When you are extremely bored, at the same time, the same thing happens when you're extremely bored too. So I didn't have many things to write about. So I said, okay, let me not try to look at bigger pictures and bigger ideas and, the obvious things, but let me go and look at smaller things. So I would write about the birds I saw. I would write about a quote that I really liked that I read. I would write about the plants that were growing, because I was gardening that time. I wrote about my connect with one person that I spoke with. Now, instead of trying to make gratitude as a large idea and being inauthentic about it and saying things without meaning and without feeling the connect from within, which is of no use pretty much. So if you break it and if you start finding out three things when it comes to gratitude journal. First thing, a human connection that I'm grateful for today. What is your human connection that you would really, really like to be happy about? It could be a friend, it could be a conversation, it could be a stranger's act, a conversation where you realize how lucky you are, grateful you are in your own situation right now, whatever that is, but one human interaction. Second could be a very, very small thing, things that we take for granted, things that we do not pay attention to, but we really, really love. It could be your favorite pen to write with. It could be your favorite mug. It could be anything that brings a smile on your face. And the third thing is something that you're grateful for in life in general. So why am I giving these questions and making it even smaller and pointed in the approach? Because I saw people writing gratitude journal from a generalistic idea. They're like, oh yeah, I got to write it and I will write it one day, or I'll write, oh, I'm grateful for my mother, my father, my this, my that, without meaning the emotion. So it is not only about writing the journal, it's about experiencing that emotion and putting your brain into that chemical space, right? I'll give you an example. If it is possible for you, let's do this exercise right away. If not, you do it later whenever possible. So look around your house or wherever you're sitting right now. I hope it's house only. Look around and find for anything that is blue, color blue. Any shade of blue is okay. So just look around and find anything that is color blue. Observe, count as many things as you can. Anything that comes to your mind. Oh no, anything that is in front of you. Any blue object will do. Great. Now close your eyes. Honestly guys, close your eyes. Really. And now tell me 3 things which were green or yellow. Could you find it? Could you remember things which were green or yellow? If yes, send me thumbs up. If no, then say no, because it's important. Like the conclusion, the lesson of this assignment is, or this exercise is simple. When you're focused on finding blue, you only look for that, and your brain becomes numb or blind to other things. Thank you, Seema Dai. Thank you. Yeah, only 2 things which you already knew existed in your house because it's your house, isn't it? Yes. So we cannot focus on yellow or green when we are looking for blue, and that happens because when I am tuned in, when I am focused on something, my mind starts looking for that aspect. So when I am focused on feeling angry, feeling upset, feeling judgmental, guess what happens to my mind? Guess what happens to every experience that I go through with that same person? What happens? Everything that you pick up, you keep picking up same problems. You keep picking, oh, you did that again. Oh my God, how many times to tell you this? Self-dialogue. You may say it out loud or not, but it doesn't matter whether you say it out or not. You just have to think. And if you know this, especially with loved ones, if you think it, they know it. They're like, what happened? Why are you looking at me like this? And you're like, no, nothing. Oh, are you judging me again? Or are you upset with me again? And you're like, no, but I didn't say anything. You don't have to say it. I know it already. You would have heard dialogues like these, right? Because when people are so close to you, they start seeing how you appear, what your face becomes, or even non-verbally, they know when you're upset and when you're not. So when you are focused and when you are only looking for mistakes, you find them. When you only look for things to be grateful for, you find them. Now it is very, very important that we are grateful for things that we already have, and our experience of life is not about what you have. And you would have realized this in this quarantine for sure. All the things that you now feel so grateful for, all of us, we did not even count on those things. And those things existed, and we just either took them for granted. We thought we are entitled, so we must get them. Also, we were rude when we didn't get them. So we literally went to a point where we were upset instead of feeling gratitude. We were upset or angry or disappointed instead of feeling grateful. And that is a part of choosing your perspective, isn't it? And this is what we're going to do in today's journaling. So the question is very, very simple, and it will be broken into 3 parts. One, the main question is, what am I grateful for right now? And the 3 parts are, first thing, that is, which human connection, what am I grateful for when it comes to one human connection in my today's interaction. Second thing, and please hear this guys, because this is one tool you can use anytime in the future you think of journaling. This is a super handy, super simple and a super essential tool to use. Second part is when you choose a very small thing, something that's your favorite thing, something that brings smile on your face. And the third thing is one thing in general in your life that you are grateful for. If you have a long list of things to be grateful for, nothing like it. be happier about it. But do them in these 3 categories if you like. Yeah? Now over to you if you have any questions for me to answer. Have you tried gratitude journaling before in the past? Have you written gratitude notes to people? Do you have any experience in gratitude journaling? So is there anything that one can choose? Okay, amazing if you have already tried it. So I think do you have questions that I can answer right now about journaling with gratitude? If no, then let me get to the last part of it. Those who are starting today, make sure that you do the practice, you listen to this video, do S-stroke practice, and then get into doing your journaling question. Once you do all these things together, move, if you like, you can use your time to do one more day's work, which means video, S-stroke and journaling question. Don't do more than 2 days because sometimes it becomes overwhelming. So stick to 2 days and go on. And after finishing the 21 days with me one-on-one like this, you can go back and finish first 13 days. Okay, so just complete the work that is remaining, but only 2 days at a time, not more than that. So the question is, the page I wrote and sent you for therapy was a gratitude page. Okay, so are you referring to the page that you sent to me for handwriting analysis? Because I do not read any content of handwriting analysis sample. That's my principle, because I don't want you to influence me in any way. So I have learned how not to read the words and only see the strokes. So okay. Now Robin is saying, I started the gratitude jar. Also, it's a very beautiful idea. In the beginning of quarantine, and I've run out of things to put in. Okay, that happens because we do not ask specific questions. Now let me also thank you, Robin, for this. What is gratitude jar? Some people in their house just keep a jar where they keep a notepad next to it, small chits, and everything that they're grateful for, they write in it, they fold it, and they keep putting in the jar. So on days when you're low, on days where you don't feel that up, they just put their hand in the jar and pick up something that they had written at some point in time about that thing they're grateful for. So if they've written that one friendship or that friend or the cat that they have, they write the cat's name, and when they look at it, they're like, oh yeah, I can be grateful for my cat who is always around. So things like that. So if you really think gratitude jar is your thing, probably you can do that, but after writing the page, because it's important that you write everything that comes to your mind on one page. Now what am I trying to do here? The another aspect of this is having a space for your brain to come to, for your mind to trust, which means if I'm writing something every day, my mind knows that if in the morning at 9 o'clock, if I go through something and it bothers me and it remains at the back of my mind, and if my routine is 4:30 after this conversation, I do my journaling, at 4:30 I will have a space to journal. Some people journal in the night, some people journal in the morning, whatever is your schedule. But your mind must know that there is one place where I can go and take a bath emotionally. So how now, no matter how dirty we get, we're like, no problem. I'm sweating right now, but I can go home and take a bath and I'll be fresh again. So we trust the process of bathing to feel fresh again. Now we don't have emotional bathing possibilities, isn't it? Now journaling is a space where we are creating bathtubs. We are creating this space that you can come to and bathe and feel fresh again. So that's why it's important that you do not break the habit of writing on one page. So it's like training your mind. Mind and body can be trained into things, and all of us have been doing it unconsciously. I think last 30-40 years of self-help boom has taught us that we can also train our minds in certain ways to help in a positive direction. Now, whatever you are, whether you are positively training your mind and body or negatively, the training is on, a thought at a time, an emotion at a time. So you will become a result of those emotions and thoughts and those training programs at the end of the day. So whatever you put in, it's like whatever your input is, whatever your ingredients are, your recipe will taste like that. So if you know that about life in general, then you will know that that's exactly what we are doing. So journaling is like taking a bath. So you use this mechanism to step into your bathtub and come out refreshed, step into your bathroom and know that you're gonna really let all the dirt go away. We want to reach a point in coming 7 days, guys. Yeah, we are on day 14. So by day 21, we want to get to a point where journaling can become a handy tool for you to count on. And that can only happen when you know how to look at your fears, how to look at your conclusions, how to look at all the challenges that you otherwise feel stuck about, and how to move on in spite of writing them in the diary. So I will see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. and let me have send me your essay stroke practice so that I get to see whether you're doing it correctly or not. I don't want you to practice incorrect strokes, so it's crucial that you do the stroke in a correct manner. So once you send it on my Insta DM, we will make sure that we reply to it. We see that you are going in the exact required direction. If not, we'll ask you to change something, ask to watch the video again. Whatever is required, we'll give you feedback. And secondly, make sure that you ask me questions on this topic or any other topic from journaling so that I can answer it in next 7 days. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and let's kill it. Bye bye.